They said American manufacturing was dead. They told me I was stuck in the past. But when the tariffs hit, the same people who laughed were suddenly out of stock, and I was hiring like never before. Welcome to Uplifting Moral Stories, stories that heal, inspire, and empower. The machines once echoed like thunder in our little Ohio town. My dad used to come home with grease on his hands, pride in his chest, and a paycheck that sent me to school with a full lunchbox. But then, silence. They shipped everything overseas, jobs, hopes, the heartbeat of this town. Our factory shut down. My dad lost everything. I lost my college plans. We all lost our future. "Mom!" cried the night we sold her wedding ring to keep the lights on. I worked odd jobs, loading docks, fast food, whatever paid cash under the table. Still, it wasn't enough. Some nights I slept in my old truck in the Walmart parking lot. I wasn't homeless. I was America-less. I held on to one thing. My dad's old machinist tools. Rusted. Forgotten. But to me, they were heritage. At a local job fair, I pitched my idea to a small business rep. American-made tools, precision, crafted, premium-priced, branded around legacy and pride. He chuckled. "Made in America? Son, no one's paying triple for what they can get from China for $5. But something shifted in me that day. I didn't want everyone's dollar. I wanted someone's heart. I left with no job but a new vision. The headlines came quietly at first. New tariffs on imported tools announced. Domestic manufacturing gets tax breaks. And then the one that made me sit up in the diner. Revitalizing American industry. Funding released for local startups. It felt like something had cracked open. For years, we'd been told to adapt or get out of the way. Now, the game was changing in this time. People like me had a chance. I pulled out my dad's old toolbox from storage. Still smelled of oil and sawdust. I cleaned the rust off each piece like I was polishing a legacy. I knew right then I wasn't just going to sell tools. I was going to sell soul-crafted strength. I walked into a newly opened manufacturing accelerator hubone of the government's initiatives tied to the new tariffs and reshoring policies. The woman at the desk looked at my business sketch like she was seeing a ghost from the past. "You're applying for the Founders Rebuild grant?" she asked. I nodded. Nervous. She smiled. "You're the third machinist this week. Something's happening." 3 weeks later, I got the call. A 50-0 grant, access to mentorship, and subsidized space in an old refurbished factory in Akron. I dropped the phone and cried. Not because I had the money, but because someone finally believed in Made in America again. I turned the key on our first lathe. The machine groaned, then roared to life like it had been waiting. I looked over at James, me dad's old apprentice who'd fallen on hard times, bouncing between shelters since the factory closed. "You sure about this?" he asked, holding the blueprint for our first wrench. "Yeah," I said. "This one's not just a tool. It's a message." Within 2 months, we were 5 workers. Strong 3 of them had been homeless just a year ago. One woman, Kelly, told me she could finally get her daughter back from foster care because of the job. Every box we shipped out said the same thing on the side. Built by Americans. Built to last. James's nephew was always hanging around the factory. One day, he filmed us hand-finishing a wrench and posted it online with the caption, "My uncle used to sleep in a car. Now he builds tools with soul." I didn't think anything of it until the orders started flooding in. Our Shopify store crashed twice. We hit 10, 0 orders in a week. One wrench video hit 3.6 million views. People were tagging their dads, their grandpas, saying things like, "This is what pride in your work looks like." My grandfather would cry seeing this. "Where do I buy?" We expanded to 2 more buildings, both abandoned for over a decade, once graveyards of America's industrial past. Now, they roared with life. We hired ex-coal miners, veterans, single moms, and even college dropouts who were told they had no future. Some used their first paycheck to pay off old medical debt. One guy, Carl, proposed to his girlfriend with a wrench ring we engraved together in the shop. I didn't just feel like a business owner. I felt like I was building a country back, bolt by bolt. Walking through the factory now. It's not quiet. It's alive. Machines humming. Laughter echoing. Kelly running quality control with her daughter beside her after school. James mentoring a young guy who used to think he was only worth minimum wage. I stood on the catwalk one evening, watching the sunset pour in through the factory windows. The same windows that used to be boarded up, shattered by years of silence. And I whispered to myself, this is what they said we'd never get back. But they were wrong. The once abandoned mill was no longer just a workplace. It had become a lifeline. What started as a dozen workers now hummed with the energy of over 200 people. Many of them former welders, machinists, and craftspeople who had given up hope years ago. And then there were the others, the ones no one talks about. Like Carlos, a Navy vet who had been sleeping under an overpass near downtown Detroit, holding a "Will Work for Food" sign. Or Brianna, a single mother in Seattle who lost everything when her retail job was automated out of existence. They were now line managers, packagers, designers. They had uniforms with their names stitched on. They had 401 Ks. They had somewhere to be every morning and someone to make proud every night. The community called it the comeback plant. What used to be ignored by major retailers was now making waves across the country. Big Chainsons hooked on importing dirt-cheap tools were placing bulk orders with his factory. I used to beg them to take a meeting, he said, holding back tears. Now they're asking for exclusivity. His Shopify store crashed twice in a week from surging demand after a TikTok clip featuring an ex-homeless veteran forging a wrench went viral. The clip ended with one line that hit millions in the gut. This tool gave me my life back. He was now signing contracts with contractors in Texas, malls in Ohio, and even luxury tool retailers in New York. But more than the money, it was the message that mattered. Buy what builds us, he'd say. Un Américain lissant. I'm not done, he told the local news, standing outside the plant under an American flag. He wasn't just rebuilding a business. He was rebuilding belief. Plans were underway to open branches in cities crushed by addiction and despair, places like Flint, Michigan, where skilled hands once built America's backbone, and Seattle, where tech wealth stood in contrast to rising tent cities. Each new plant would include an outreach program, free training for displaced workers, on-site childcare for single parents, second chance hiring for ex-offenders and the homeless. I was told I was stupid for dreaming small town big, but we're not small town anymore. We're America's second chance. They were chasing cheap. I was chasing legacy, and now I'm the last one standing. When you build something with heart, it does more than create products. It restores dignity, revives dreams, and brings communities back to life. Come, let this story be your spark. Whether it's starting a business, helping someone up, or believing in a forgotten place again, you have the power to bring hope back home. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Comment below what inspired you. And subscribe for more uplifting moral stories, because the world needs reminders that good still wins.